Slam Summit 22. Munsey Ricci of Skateboard Marketing, John Freeman of Freeman Promotions, John Asher of Asher Media Relations. And when he went off the deep end, he trashed all his gear. I was the first guy he called. Keep listening to see who said it and what it's all about. All right, recording in progress. Says the robot voice. What's up, everyone? Jack Mangan here from Support Life and Music. You also know me from the Metal Hall of Fame and Metal Asylum. And you say occasionally I pop in at the Metal Voice, but that's Jimmy K. That's his world. So anyway, it's good to talk to everyone. We've got a really cool panel today. We've got some really amazing, super powerful people behind the scenes. People I've had a working relationship through music for forever. In some cases, it seems. But these guys, all three of these guys are awesome. So we'll start with actually the guy who I know the least, but also I've had a lot of good relationship with this guy over the past couple of years, John Asher, straight out of Montreal, of Asher Media. John, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, and it's good to see these characters again too.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And so these other characters, this guy actually seems like Munsey and I see each other once a year at the Metal Hall of Fame, and Metal Allegiance and out in California, even though neither one of us are California based. So Munsey Ricci, everyone, the legendary, out of Skateboard Media out of New York, just guy who got his fingers on the pulse of everything. Munsey, thanks so much for joining us today, man.
Dude, thanks for having me, Jack.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
dude, any time to get on with John Asher and John Freeman. Come on, dude. All we need is GWAR in the background and some cold beer.
Yeah. Well, just
I'd say I'm like the Canadian version of John Freeman.
All right.
But we get mixed up a lot. So sometimes we get mixed up because I get stuff and people think I'm Freeman. And then I'm like, no, you mean the other John.
You should take advantage of that. Be like, yeah, sure, I can get you in touch with GWAR. Sure. You want to talk to BK?
Yep, you want to talk to BK?
Yeah. So anyway, so Colin the Salamanizer, straight out of Jersey. Again, one of the coolest people in this business. Again, Don, seriously, we've been trading emails for a really long time, and we've had you on actually on Metal Asylum. We had you on. Rich and I talked to you.
Yeah.
Remember the topic? Might have been Jersey. Might have been just like your stuff. But anyway, thanks, John Freeman. Everyone from Freeman, just celebrated 15 years. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's 15 crazy years, and yes, GWAR is definitely a part of it, but had a lot of other great clients as well. And working with folks like Munsey and my Canadian counterpart John, it's been great. It's all been great stuff, and it's killer to still be doing it 15 years later.
Well, all right. So I know, look, Support Life and Music is about positivity, but John, we'll start with John. And if you other guys know, you can all talk shit. We'll talk shit right now about John Bambino, this guy we all know. So go ahead, John Freeman. You can start. So Bambino, I hope you're watching because we're going to talk some shit about you. No, I'm kidding. He's a great guy. Actually, people don't know. He and I grew up in the same town, so I knew him before. He and I were on college radio stations together. I knew him before he was a music big shot. So anyway, but yeah, go ahead and talk shit if you want. But otherwise, we'll get into the meat of it.
No, I will not talk shit about Mr. Bambino. I will take a screen cap of this conversation and send it to him, so he's like, "Oh fuck, you're talking about all those guys." But no, you're not going to get me to talk shit. That's for sure.
Right. No, I of course I'm kidding. He is truly one of the best people in the business too, for sure. So all right, well let me ask the first question, and this will be kind of a round table. This is a big question, and I ask this kind of everyone who's in your space. So what is the difference between PR agent, marketing, and all the other things that come around bands? Because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, you just hire one person, they do all that. They book your shows, they cook your meals, they get your record contracts. So tell me, I mean, I don't care who starts, but tell me what's the difference between all these different roles: PR, marketing, agent, manager.
Who wants to start, guys? I mean, I can tell you what PR. That's the two Johns over here. It's our job to get this stuff out there, to get coverage, to get people to listen to the music, to get your artist interviewed, to get reactions on the reaction channels. I mean, publicity has changed over the 15 years immensely since I've been doing it. I mean, it was like, hey, get yourself get the interview in a magazine. What magazine? That, and just getting out there, booking performances, booking guests on podcasts now, like it's all over the place. But that's what that is. John, you got anything to add? Or is that
Basically, I explain it like the media is our tool. We're using them as because they're the gatekeepers to the public. So we're using their platforms to reach a wider audience to discover and be aware or be updated if they already know they're aware of the band and their product, which is the albums or the tours and the band itself. So, I usually just tell them, look, we're going to hit print, radio, online, the podcast, the Spotify, the video reaction, all that, because we want to just reach as many people as we can to make them aware, and hopefully you convert them right into listeners, into fans. So when you're rolling through on your tour, they come to your shows, they buy your merch, etc., etc. Or hopefully they buy your music or they're adding it to their playlists, etc. It's just using the media platforms to, make the product, the band aware that they're something worthy of being checked out, because I think that's what media is. It's adding credibility to something good, bigger, especially the bigger the name of credibility of the outlet, that creates more interest into the band, even though I'm also still a fan of the smaller outlets because they still have reach on the socials, etc., etc., etc. So basically, in a nutshell, it's just we're the pitch guys. That's how I see it. We're just pitching these artists and their albums and their music and their tours all day to convince media reps to cover them. They're newsworthy, they're story worthy, their music is great, and please, help us to get it to your listenership or your readership, etc.
Yeah, radio is pretty much the same scenario, but there becomes a big misconception. See, with radio promotion, especially when you're dealing with specialty, our job really revolves around the full length album. Whereas with publicity, they're trying to get as many reviews and as much ink as they can in print leading up to street date and then on street date and after. And the same kind of applies for their tour promotion too. At radio, our whole thing is once street date comes, that's really when we start. So when we have a rollout, we'll roll out singles and get a single out there. We try and get some few key syndicated radio outlets on it for that weekend that the single will street, just so that the launch is proper. Then we'll just let it build until we get to the second single, and we kind of do the same thing. Then when we get to the album, our main thing is working it up the charts. And chart visibility is really super important. I mean, back through the 90s, early 2000s, there was 6, 7 trade magazines. Today, really, there's only 4. You have Billboard, and all their charts are media based. Obviously, you have Metal Contraband, which strictly focuses at metal, and the NACC chart, which is pretty much the same as what CMJ was back in the day. And they have all genres of different charts. They have jazz, world, alternative. So, our rollout always leads up, but usually the charge always starts with publicity, where their press release will go out first. But we in advance of that, we kind of know that the track is going out that day. So maybe John will try to set up a premiere or something with one of the press outlets. And then we try and do the same with one of the syndicated radio outlets so that you can hear it in 2 places, or unless it's an exclusive premiere. If it's an exclusive to Rolling Stone, or Revolver, or Decibel, then we don't do a radio premiere. If it's not, then, we kind of tie that in, just so that we can have a proper launch, and really chart numbers after that. Publicity kind of has everything in place already by street. Now we have like 6 weeks or 8 weeks to work a record up the charts. And at that point, our whole game plan is get as much airplay and chart visibility as possible so that at least the artist can be heard. And it doesn't matter if it's a station that's got 300 watts and it's a college station, or a 50,000 watt station in, Dallas, Texas. It doesn't matter. It's a station that's playing your record. Somebody's going to hear it. It's going to be heard. If they stream the album, if they buy tickets to the show, if they buy merch, they download the record or they buy physical, our job was done. So that's kind of the way we look at it. It's all artist development, and it even stands the same position and standpoint for the big legend artists. When you have a legend artist like a Judas Priest or a Black Sabbath, you still have a new fan base that doesn't know. They know who they are, but never listen to their stuff. And I've been through it before when, we're working the Bruce Dickinson record, More Balls to Picasso. And I mentioned it to a station, and he came back to me with, that name sounds familiar. So now a guy who does a metal show thinks that Bruce Dickinson's name sounds familiar, either needs to go back to school or just re-educate himself on heavy metal, because he is like one of the legends and the voices of the format going back to 1980.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah, but I mean, it goes. I think it backs up what you said, Munsey, is that we got to acknowledge that those people are out there. There's younger generations
Yeah.
out there. And there's people who just maybe don't know who Bruce Dickinson or even a Rob Halford or something. Which is, you're right. It seems insane. How could you not know? Like my mother knows who Bruce Dickinson is, but that's incredible. Well, I really like what you guys, all three of you said, is you really focus a lot on the releases and like kind of the what's hot right now. So and actually when I had Michael Brandvold on, he talked about this a lot, but he said about being a manager, he said, that's really like where you're dealing with the artists themselves and you're thinking more about their whole career as opposed to one release. I mean, is that accurate, or am I talking shit, or is Michael Brandvold talking shit? We're just throwing mud at everybody
No,
here.
I mean, I feel that's accurate. I mean, right, like we're handling, sure, one record, Munsey's handling one record or singles or whatever it is, and that's part of what an artist is doing. So a management company, sure, they're going to be talking about the release that the band's putting out, the tour that the band's going on, whatever other products that there are. I mean, there's a lot of people that they're speaking to, their agent, their booking agent, all that, the travel, they're dealing with all those different aspects. So sure, manager is kind of like, we're one of the pieces that management will move around, if you will. I mean, we're all part of a big team, and a lot of the times there'll be projects that like Munsey's doing the radio and I'm doing the press, so we'll end up kind of working together. But yeah, managers got their hand in every pot. I mean, the merchandise. I think I said that already, but you know what I mean. It's not, they're not just doing one thing. Not that publicity is just one single thing, and not that radio is just like we're here, but like whereas we stay in our lane and doing what we're doing, management is doing everything.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
one.
that kind of applies to the product manager too with a label. It's a product manager's job to like take all the elements of what me, publicity and digital and manufacturing and everybody's doing and put it all together and their setup. That's why we have a timeline that we work from. And 9 out of 10 times that comes from the product manager at the record company.
Yeah, makes sense. I think John, you were going to say something. John Asher.
Like it's the same thing. I feel like we're just one part of the machine. We answer to the managers. We keep in the loop with the managers. Like I keep in the loop with the managers or the label managers. You know, because we're well, for PR, I feel like we're the messengers. So we need to be in the loop. Like, oh, if you got a big show coming up or you just got booked for a big show, let us know in advance so we can get on that, or a big tour to announce, etc. Or oh, we're working on this post album music video, etc. Even after album release stuff is going on. Just keep us in the loop, even when bad things happen. Oh, someone's tour visa got rejected. Uh-oh, what are we gonna do? You got to keep the publicist in mind in case, like I've had situations where tours were canceled because just one member couldn't get through the border. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of like the publicist job is, oh great, I got to go backtrack all this press stuff and inform them like the band's not on that tour anymore. Uh-oh, right? Those are crisis management modes. Sometimes there's also crisis management to deal with, right? In PR, so behind the scenes. And yeah, I feel like we're just one part of the machine as part of the progressive build up development of the artist, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. And well, no, let me ask you guys. I mean, you talked about now the crisis that you just mentioned is one that's kind of out of the artist's control, or mostly out of their control. But what are some of the things that drive you guys crazy? And you don't have to name names, obviously, but what are some of the things that drive you guys crazy about what artists are doing, the ways they self-sabotage and shoot themselves in the foot? What should they not do? Like coach right now, give some coaching.
Ooh, how about like keep shit coordinated? Like, I don't know, random band A, if you know you have a fucking tour that's being announced, let us know. I mean, like, that's like, it's really good for me to like let other people know about a tour or with via a press release or whatever if we know it's coming. I mean, if I don't know about it, then I can't say anything. And that goes not just for a tour, but for anything else. If something newsworthy is happening, let your PR person know so they can then inform people. Because if you don't, then like, sure,
I'm
it can
sure.
get out there. I mean, socials are fine to use and they're important and everything, but like, if there's something newsworthy, I should know about it. Don't tell me after the fact.
Yeah, I think you've been surprised like me. You find out something on the social media and you're like, what are you talking? I've had media reps message me and I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I just saw it on the band socials and I'm like, damn, nobody told me. That's one thing. I think, yeah, you gotta fill in your team players on what's going on with the band. And two, oh, I just brain farted here. I was gonna say, yeah, you got to communicate with us and answer your emails too. That's another one. That's a big frustration when you don't you when artists sometimes just go missing for a week and
Hmm. Yep.
you set up an interview
Yeah.
schedule for them.
Ugh.
That too. So like if you're communicating with your team, you got to be daily communications is what I like. I like you got to be accessible every day to see what we're getting for you.
Yep.
That's another one. But yeah, just you got to keep the PR guys in the loop because being surprised and caught off guard can really make us look bad sometimes even professionally too, right? Like so, yeah.
Yeah, it's become a big problem, especially like when you have some artists that just neurotic. And it's fine, I get it. You're an artist, you create, you're neurotic. And John Asher's got the ideal point. They go silent for a week or 2 weeks when we're trying to set up a day of radio interviews or they're trying to do a day of press. They don't realize the importance of people's schedule and their time. And the other thing is like you get an artist, they have to be willing to work. And if the artist doesn't want to work or they don't think something's influential enough, well, then maybe the record isn't going to happen because there's a lot of the small stuff that's really important that needs to get done. Small sites, on the press side and especially small radio stations, they have traffic. People look at that. Even the big sites, some people miss stuff on the big sites too. I miss it all the time. I'll miss something on Revolver or Decibel, just, oh, that was yesterday. I looked, oh, it came after. So it happens, you know, but, a lot of artists just have to come to the terms of we're here to help. We're not the rock stars. We're just the servants. We're the guys that your record company hires to make it happen. So they have to make themselves available and they have to be willing to work and do something. And listen, I get it. If it's like a big high profile artist, he doesn't need to talk to a 30-watt college station, but he definitely is going to need to talk to a syndicated radio outlet because they have 160 affiliates nationally. And that's what we need.
And
You
just
know,
as you
I
say
mean,
that, sorry.
oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just gonna say it on the same hand too, like that's totally true. But we, as the radio, promoter and the publicist, also have to know how to deal with said artists. There's an art in talking to the artists and dealing with them and working with them, on like showing them why something's important, why they should do this, why should and like certain people you have to talk to a different way. And I think the only way you're able to do that is by working in this and doing it over and over again. Like 15 years ago, I would have probably said something stupid to somebody that I needed to do an interview rather than like, well, this is why I think you should do it because of, whatever. I would have been like, you have to do it. Just fucking do it. That's like, doesn't work like that. You manage, not only are you're doing publicity and everything, but you're managing other people's personalities. There's a lot of interpersonal relationship stuff behind the scenes that not everybody sees. That's very important. Like Munsey wouldn't call Bruce Dickinson and tell him, you're going to do this fucking interview right now. Munsey would be like, hey, here's what I think. Here are the, or actually Munsey would, yeah, or talk to Rod or whoever it was. But you would, but you might talk to like a smaller band differently. Like you need to do these because you're an up and coming band, whatever. There's just a way in which you have to handle the people that you're working with.
Yeah, it makes all the sense. And then, you have to realize too, some artists have dependencies. When you have dependencies, it brings demons. And in in the past, with an unnamed, very well-known artist, they flaked multiple times on press days for radio and press, and nobody heard. Even management didn't hear from him till 3 or 4 days later. And they found him passed out on a couch at like somebody's house because he was, yeah, dependencies, and that becomes a big problem. And I mean, you have to learn to overcome it. How you have to kind of train yourself how to deal with those kind of people and that type of situation. Otherwise, it's going to make the job extremely difficult to do.
So have you guys walked away in a case like that? Again, you don't have to name names, but have you ever been like, this person's just too out of control, I need, or have you, or vice versa, have you said, I'm going to get them help because they're gonna self-destruct? Like, have you guys
Um,
handled that?
Not in that where I've had to get them help, but I have one time quit on somebody just because of the continued like how I was being treated. And it wasn't the fact that they were missing interviews. It was just the like how they were acting to me as a person and a businessman. Like, I know what I'm doing, I get it, and you want to have conversations, we can do that. That's totally fine. And you can have your opinions and we can have differences of opinion. But the way I was being spoken to and treated, and it's only ever happened one time in 15 years. I was just like, you know what? I don't need you. Like, I've got this client, that client. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. And I'm not happy being put down or, dealing with this. So fortunately, I was able to make that decision. Like, you know what, sure, I'll miss a little money, but you know what? I don't need that shit. Like, I want to work with you because you want to work with me because we're gonna do a good job for you and we're gonna get results. But like, when that came to be, I was just like, all right, see you later. If you ask me off this call who it was, I might tell you, but I'm not telling you on here.
Damn. All right.
Yeah,
Alright.
I've been through that, and I've had skateboard marketing 34 years, and that's happened to me I think 2 times, maybe 3. And in all instances that it's happened, it came from a local unsigned artist. You have to remember, you have to kind of look at the position you're in, the record you have, and what needs to be done. And at some point, some people just have false expectations and of where the band should be. And when you get into that position, you become the villain and you become the punching bag. And it's like, I'm a professional. I don't get into it with anybody. I'll talk about it. And if that's going to be the case, I'll walk away from it. And it's only happened a couple of times. And I mean, it's going to happen to everybody within
Yep.
their career. But I mean, the one thing that's got to be absolutely the most brutal is like trying to deal with somebody who's kind of gets like a little neurotic and suicidal. That then everything changes. Then you become more like a caretaker and you have to hold somebody's hand. And I've been through that before with an artist. And it seemed that he was the one guy, he would call me for everything. And when he went off the deep end, he trashed all his gear. And then I was the first guy he called. And I was on the phone with him for 2 hours. And I had to drive into Brooklyn and sit down with him, to just kind of, cool down and calm the situation. And like 4 months later, he bought new gear and went out and started making music again. And he's since passed. which is a shame. But those are some of the things that, it's not only us in radio and publicity that have to deal with it. It's your manager, it's your family, it's your friends, it's everybody. Everybody has to deal with that. And, you have to remember, you're affecting a lot of people. So if, somebody needs help, we're here. You can pick up the phone and call us. I'll spend an hour on the phone with somebody if they need that. That's just what you do.
Hi, I'm Vern C. Bell here with Slam with Jack Mangan and Dave Ellefson.
Everybody, David Olson here, and you should support Slam.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. And Muncie, and that feels like I would say that also for a friend, like even outside of business, like I think
Right.
that's also just being a good person. It's just doing the right thing.
I think what happens too is we develop friendships too, right? They're not just like clients too, right? They're like I pretty much, the media reps, the bands, the industry dudes, we all just become friends. Majority of us, it's you working as long as all of we have, you have these long-term friendships with these people in the industry. So it everything, intertwines and connects. And
One of the first people I met in this industry was Munsey.
Hmm.
That's right. You were in radio like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was doing radio. I came up for CMJ one year. And before that, we had started charting, and Munsey was the first guy to call the radio station I was at in Boone, North Carolina. Dude, this is Munsey. You're gonna have my records. And like we just became friends. And like I came up here, he took us out for burgers, and that's you're right though, John. Like that's the kind of friendships that you develop. I mean,
yeah,
and you continue to have them, and you meet different people, and you'll make new friendships. But there's always like the original ones. Like I like Jack mentioned John Bambino. He works for Indigo. They manage GWAR. I've known him for 15, 16 years longer. Like it's these long-standing relationships. And that's kind of what people like too when they come to you to hire you for something, for press or for radio. They like knowing that you have these relationships with these media outlets, with these people, because then they're people, they're willing to listen to what you have to say.
yeah, and that's what PR is, right? We're public relations. We're there to build relationships with people. I've told many artists, never burn your bridges in this industry, because down the road you're gonna cross paths. You're always gonna cross paths with people, and it's gonna bite you in the ass. You gotta treat everybody with respect. And like backtracking, like I've dropped artists just for abusive language towards me, you know, or racist comments, etc. And it's just like, well, the industry also has a blacklist. Don't some of these artists don't realize it. We all talk amongst ourselves.
Oh,
So
there's a list of bad clients.
yeah,
We've seen that list. It's like who you don't want to work
yeah,
with.
it goes around. So
You have
yeah,
that for media too? Like, am I on that list for media? I'm kidding, but you probably had that for media, right? Some idiot at some small zine or some big zine who thinks way too highly of themselves. I mean,
I would
because
comment as I call them, I think John too, maybe, I don't know. I call them punishers.
There are those, yes.
They they, they sometimes break boundary, like they overstep the boundaries of professionalism. That's all. With respect towards the artist, or what they're doing, or sometimes, they have a sign, but they're more just a fan and they're just looking for free ways to get into shows all the time. So yeah, there's some who are just yeah, you gotta
Keep
tread.
them at arm's length.
right. Well, so like a recurring theme from all three of you guys, and Muncie said it a bunch of times. I mean, it's really professionalism, really on all parts. If you're doing a small zine that three people read, if you're in a small band, or if you're like working for Bruce Dickinson directly, like you got to be professional. And you know, a lot of people have said it. It's a music business. So there's music and there's the fun and there's the party, but there's also the business. So I'm hearing that a lot from you guys, and that echoes a lot of what we talk about here on Slam. So that's not really a question. It's just me kind of throwing my 2 cents in. I don't know if you guys want to take that and run with it.
No,
Or
I like I have a like I like profession. I'm all about I personally give shit to a lot of bands. So I'm like, it's all about professionalism because I've had some do interviews over the phone, and then I get a complaint from the media guy, and I was like, oh no, this one went wrong. And then sometimes it goes, I get the media rep call me and be like, yo, that went so well. Anytime they want to do it again, I'm down. They were so good because I think a lot of bands sometimes forget the media reps are fans too. You're talking directly to fans too. They can be future fans and supporters of your band for the next 10, 20 years. So be nice to them, be polite, thank them for their time and showing interest in your artistry, because guess what? You're not the only artist they could have probably chosen for an interview. They could have just gone with somebody else, but they chose you instead to talk about your album and your music. So I think that key point is sometimes forgotten by the artists.
Yeah.
They too much to their heads that I'm the shit. And guess what? No, you're not. There's a dime.
And if you know, if you know you're doing a video Zoom interview, fucking sit in a room and do the interview. Don't go on a walk on the beach. Don't go hiking. Do the interview. Take the 15, 20 minutes and do it, or schedule it at a time while you know you'll be sitting there, not when you're driving your car.
yeah, fair
Yeah, I
enough.
mean, listen, being a rock star isn't a very hard job. I mean, yeah, you need talent. Yeah, you know, have to know how to play, but it's not a hard job. You get to the venue, you have load in, catering, sound check, you chill, you play a show, you do the meet and greet, you go sign some stuff. Afterwards, you sit back, you have a drink, you get in the bus, you go to the next show over and over, and you sleep. Okay, so it's not a very hard job, you know, but by an artist making things difficult, they make our job that much harder.
No, all right. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions. We'll start looking at the door because I want to make sure that we don't take up your all of your time. But let me ask a couple more. So I saw something just the other day in social media. So I mean, there are crappy, unprofessional people in all kinds of industries, and in your industries too. So I mean, I know you guys aren't all three in the same exact industry. Now, I'll vouch for all three of these guys. For anyone watching, these three guys are super professional and have a lot of integrity. But come on, there are definitely bad. So let me ask the question: what do you advise? How do people watch out for bad players in in your field? What are those warning signs?
Ooh,
Like
that's
a shady PR or shady marketer or whatever, shady manager, or shady whatever.
well, for shady PR, it's like I've I've been working projects and then other bands got hit up by other PR,
While you're
or
doing it, yeah, right? Like
you're
somebody's
doing
kind of
it.
coming and
Well,
poach.
I don't know. I've always found that, it's best for the band to come after you, not you going after the band. So like because that shows that like they know what they're doing. Um, you know, when they go to you with emails or phone calls asking for money, like to manage you or to do your PR, like if they're soliciting you, usually that's not a thing. That I personally believe is a publicist, right? Like a true publicist is somebody who has a good uh track record and is well known in various circles, has a reputation and stuff with industry standards and stuff. Not somebody who just says I'm a promo guy and I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Like, I don't know. That happens a lot. I had one band unfortunately get scammed even by they thought a big magazine wanted to cover them and they got messaged on TikTok and then they got scammed. They got scammed and I was like, that's not how it works. So yeah, it was just a fake profile, somebody pretending to be a big editor from a big magazine saying they were interested. We'll feature you. And yeah. So I don't know if they're soliciting you right off the bat for like right off the bat with money, pay me this and I'll do this. Well, no.
Yeah.
Usually like the bands, they come directly to you, or their management comes directly to you, or the label comes directly to you. So yeah, there's some shady characters in this business. But unfortunately I've had some bands have they're very careful, just very careful after that, right? They don't trust nobody in the industry. So
And then on the other hand, for bands too, they got to watch out when if you see somebody offering you to be on a podcast, but they want you to pay them to be on the podcast,
that too.
that's not real. If they tell you they're an iHeartMedia podcast and their email address does not say at iHeartMedia.com, it's not real. You know what I mean? Like, but those happen and they people ask. It's just so crazy. But yeah, do your due diligence, pay attention. And yeah, everything John said, I second 100%.
Hey, you guys are all going to send me $50, right?
Yeah,
Is that what we're
absolutely.
doing this?
Yeah.
Munsey, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that.
I'll send your dog some cookies.
There you go. I don't know, Munsey, if you had anything else you want to add to that, but otherwise,
Nah,
I
you know what? I mean, we're all doing this gig a long time. And after a while, it's like you learn to see the shady people, you know who to deal with and who not to deal with. And you kind of learn the protocol. Once you know the protocol and you see how things are done, it's so obvious when somebody's shady that comes along. Sometimes something sounds very shady and it's not. You know, it's like that because there's other people in place that they don't want to deal with, but they have to deal with. So there's certain things that, you just kind of have to navigate through. But for the most part, yeah, it's like John Asher and Freeman both had it right. It's the only thing that's going to like enable you to learn that is your experience in doing the gig.
all right. Yeah, perfectly said. Perfectly stated. All right. Well, two more things, and I'm going to let you guys all back to your lives.
All right.
First thing, actually, Munsey and I talked about this when we were set up for this. So what Slam's about, is we're trying to push back on self-destruction. So what is your general advice if someone's kind of in a dark place and has some dark ideas? What's your general advice for them to kind of turn it around and get out of there? I mean, Munsey, you talked just not that long ago about like helping out an artist who's in a spot like that. So what's your life advice to people? You don't have to be a psychologist or anything. Just what's your
No, not at all. Listen, if you're having issues and you're self-destructing, you have friends and you have family. People are there. Pick up the phone and call somebody. You know, if you have, dependencies and there's demons, well, you can pick up the phone and call somebody and they can get you help. Okay. There's always somebody to call where you can get help. And that's the whole point. And we've all dealt with those artists and those people, whether it was friends, family, or a colleague. I mean, you pick up the phone, you call, say, dude, I got to talk to you. I got a problem. And then, you spend an hour or two on the phone. And if you got to get in your car and drive to Brooklyn or the Bronx or something to sit down with somebody, great. If they're like 3,000 miles away, well, you video chat with them for an hour or two. And, you kind of like decompress the situation. And then you call somebody that out there and say, do me a favor, run over there. Somebody needs a health check, and sit with them. And if you got to stay on the couch, you stay on the couch. But, as long as the artist knows that there's somewhere they can go for help, that's fine. Pick up the phone and call us. We're here. We're not here to just say, well, I'm not working your record and hang up the phone. It doesn't work that way. We have a relationship with the band and the label. I like to have relationships with everybody, and that's how they work.
That's great, John. But either John. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
There's a better alternative,
Yeah,
there
and
is.
like we've all dealt with it before, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
it's changing environments. I've had some artists who've been really bad addicts, and it was just sometimes reaching out to them and helping them change change their environment. You know, if you know alcoholism is a problem for you, then you know we need to change that environment where there's a lot of alcohol. If it's drugs, same thing. We got to cut out those people who are feeding that drug addiction, you know, and then seek also help, therapy. You know, I know countless of artists who finally, you know, ended up going to either rehab or going to a psychiatrist and getting help and stuff. So, and you know, some of them have gotten better and gotten out of that because, like, there is the dark side of the music industry. It's easily fueled with booze and drugs, right? And it's unfortunate. It's just it's part of
Mhm.
the backdrop of the industry. So, it's just you gotta I personally believe because like even myself I'm now sober and you
Me
know
too.
I was tired of drinking so much at the goddamn shows and with the bands and realizing I can't function like this is not healthy for me, so I took that personal action. But it's just you got to change your environment if you know, because what happens is the artist just, you know, you crash and burn, and guess what? You are forgotten. Unfortunately, that's how I feel sometimes, you know. People move on, the industry moves on. You are replaceable if you're a bassist, drummer, guitar, singer, whatever. You're replaceable if you're having problems. So, and do you want to lose that position that you've worked so hard for? So, it's just, yeah, change of environment, like Munsey said too, reaching out to those who care for you, who can lean on and stuff. So um but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that
A
totally.
hundred
You know,
percent. 100%.
yep.
Yeah.
And back
Sometimes
to
environment changes aren't so easy either. You know,
No.
you have to remember too, John, like think about it, like somebody's on the road, you know, you realize one of your bandmates is having a problem. Well, at that point, you start to realize, well, maybe we should have a dry dressing room. Maybe the tour bus should be dry. Get rid of all alcohol. Get rid of everything and anything on the bus so that they have a place they can go where it's a somewhat normal environment so that, you know, it can actually decompress the situation and help them move along. And then when it's done, they can take a little time off, you know, and you know, go get some counseling, go to rehab, do what they have to do. And it's, you know, and it helps. And, you know,
Yeah,
let's stop and look at some of the artists that have done that before. There's some very well known artists that have been sober for years and it works and they still have their careers and everything's great.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna add to that. Like the best tours, I've jumped on tours with bands, and honestly, the best tours that I've done are the dry tours where there was no alcohol before the shows, after the shows. There was just no alcohol. And it was actually pretty much the best experience because everybody was, you know, um calm and collected, you know, living in the moment kind of thing with any influence.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it too.
Well, and I will say kudos to both you guys for, for making that's, I know it's not easy for, it's not always easy. So awesome. But kudos to both you guys for taking that step. I mean, that's the right, it sounds like it's the right choice. So that's great. Um, you guys are awesome. I'm going to say that this is a great panel. You three of you, you guys are great gentlemen in this industry. Why don't we head it out? Let's take the last couple of minutes, promote whatever you want to promote. Promote your last 15 years or however long you've been in the business, and what the hot tickets that you're promoting right now. We're going to put this out, in probably late July ish 2025. So talk about promote whatever you want.
all right. Well, we just got, we did the 15 years of Freeman Promotions, and one of the clients for the 15 years has been, as you guys have mentioned, GWAR. It's their 40th anniversary this year. I think actually, John, you just saw them recently,
Yeah,
right?
thank you for the hookup. I went to
Yeah,
see them in
man.
Montreal where everyone got bloody messy.
Nice.
It
So
was good.
it's been great, man. They're doing it's the 40th anniversary. They're touring again this fall. with Helmet, the Dwarves, and Blood Vulture. They've got an EP coming out, or not, excuse me, not an EP. It's a multimedia release because it's 7 tracks and it's attached to a comic book. And that's coming out July 25th. And let's see, there's a whole bunch of other cool stuff. I don't want to just make this a whole big thing here, but I could do a record that Munsey and I are working together on. That'd be Nefarious, which is a great band. That's coming out in a couple weeks, featuring members of the Bay Area thrash scene, including Mr. Caton of Hyrax, Rick Hunnell, and Will Carroll, and some other great characters. And then one more Monday in October. We haven't announced it totally yet. We've got new Biohazard.
Yeah. And actually, Biohazard debuted top 10 on the radio charts this week, only being out less than about a little over a week. And it's all due to the reaction from Sirius XM and like Music Choice and a handful of the syndicated and commercial stations. So it's beautiful. And I will say, I mean, Skateboard celebrating our 34th anniversary this year. And I mean, I still can't believe it's 34 years and I'm still annoying radio stations to play all my stuff, but it's working, so I'm leaving it alone. But, you know, it's good. But like two of our longest running clients are Doro Pesh and Ingve Malmsteen, you know, which we do have something new by Doro, as well as Biohazard. But, you know, we do have the new Motorhead box set, you know, which is the Manticore tapes, which is just demo versions of stuff, which is doing really super well. And we have Chain Saint. So anybody who's not up on Chain Saint, they're all 18 years old playing old school thrash, similar to Metallica. And the band actually got the opening slot on the Alice in Chains tour. You know, and the record was produced
Nice.
it was produced by William DeVal. Now to be 18 years old, have that tour and have your record produced by William DeVal does not suck. Okay. So kudos to those guys. I think it's pretty cool. And we have Hatred, which, by the way, are two of the sons of Zetro from Exodus, which is even better.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And 34 years, that's incredible. That's a great run. Not many people can say that. So that's pretty excellent. No,
That means I
that's
was
cool.
7 years old when he started his company.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with like me when I get on the phone with John Asher, because he's in the Great White North. So he handles Canadian stations and so do we. So I'm like, you know, we'll get on the phone on records we'll work. And I'm like, okay, dude, did you track this guy down? Well, he's not answering my call. And he goes, okay, I'll get him. You know, so yeah,
I'm pretty
it's
much
great.
the
You know,
guy.
we can tag team.
Yeah, I pretty much hound everybody in Canada because I do a lot of the tours. I'm in festival season mode. I have Armstrong Metal Fest this coming weekend with Born of Osiris and Havoc headlining. So I do the PR for that festival, and then the following week, 2 weeks later, is Loud as Hell in Alberta, which we have Revocation headlining with First Fragment also, and a bunch of others, and then the tours. So like I do a lot of the tours up here for a lot of the bands that do cross Canada. So I have Woodhawk going on tour across Canada. There's Stoner Rock out of Calgary, and then there's Ivy Gardens, another stoner prog rock band going across Canada. And like I've become like the tour guy and the festival guy up here, and just the Canadian guy. I do a lot of the radio up here with the college stations and the charting, and then but then I also work in the States too, in Europe. Like I work for Visitant, who are out of the States. They're dropping their record on Exodus Stratagem, and Matt Miller too, on that label too. And yeah, keeping busy, but summertime is usually I'm in festival mode. And just finished the Vakken battles for Canada and USA, taking care of that. The PR for those. So yeah, it's just busy. It always seems to be something to do up here. And yeah, especially I know when John and Munsey have some of the American guys come up, they hit me up for contacts, and no worries giving them that. I'm like, yeah, you got to hit up this guy and this guy and this city and this city. These are the guys. So yeah,
Very cool. Well, I will just say really quickly. I mean, you guys named about 100 great bands in there. So I'm digging that Woodhawk, John. That's really good stuff. And then yeah, I definitely want to see a couple of these tours you're talking about. But anyway, I will shut up. I'll say, thank you guys, thank you, all three of you guys. Best of luck for the next 34 years for all three of you. And yeah, it's been an honor, been a pleasure, and best of luck with all these things you're promoting. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you, John Asher, John Freeman, and Munsey Ricci.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us, dude. It was a blast.